Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today we are in the Lorraine, and that is the end of the line battleship for the French Blue Water Fleet in its closed beta test in patch 2.27. Before we talk further about the ship, its details, and what I expected instead, first of all, this segment here is silent so you can fully understand my voice. And here's the question: am I loud enough? Am I clear enough? Or am I even too loud by now? Because I now have fiddled around with the settings a little bit, and for me, when I compare it to other YouTube videos, then I think I'm fine. And you can always make me more silent, but nobody should be just overwhelmed and where we even go into the static because I'm overpowering the microphone. So let me know in the comment section. So now let's talk about the Lorraine. To be honest, the ship is not useless, it's not bad, but I think it has put its eggs in the wrong basket when it comes to the War Thunder meta, and I'll talk about this in just a moment. I expected at the top of the line, or at the end of the tech tree, something like the Dunkerque class with its two quad 330mm or 13-inch guns. That would be really interesting, especially in comparison to the USS Alaska at 7.0, and for the Soviets also the Kronstadt. It's definitely not a counter to the Scharnhorst with its magic armor, but it could just be a really interesting ship. There is in my mind an option of trying to explain it, and that is that Gaijin tries to fiddle around with the unique mechanic of the quad turrets in that they were split in half in terms of fighting compartments. So every turret in the game so far is a single unit, but the quad turrets of the French had, even down the barbette, just a border, an armored plate that would separate the two. So if one half of the turret got penetrated and knocked out, the other half would continue to fighting, therefore losing only 25% of the combat power instead of 50%. Maybe, just maybe, Gaijin brings that in, and that is my hope, that they bring it in, so they would make the unique ship design really unique in the game as well. What does this have to do with the Lorraine? Nothing, except that this is the best that you get, and it has also 4 340mm guns as of 1912 models. They are in twin turrets, 2 super firing forward, 2 super firing aft, and they do not really have the best firing arcs. They have a reload of 30 seconds for a fully trained ace crew, and its ammunition, I'm not quite sure. I'm not completely perfectly happy with giving you a final result, but it feels like a really weird combination of shells. First of all, let's talk about the main armaments. 340mm HE, which is 13.4 inch. So the HE has 34 kilograms of TNT yield, 68mm of penetration, nothing special, but even if it would be double that, it would still be useless, especially with the amount of guns and the rate of fire. You have a DPM problem in the ship. Then you have 2 sets of AP, the first being the 340mm OPF MLE 1912 APC, which is actually an APC round, and it has 24 kilograms of TNT yield. That is a lot. That's the same as the 15-inch guns from the German Bayern, and that is famous for its yield. But the penetration, 472mm at 1000 meters, and at 10 kilometers, 258. That is not a lot. But then you get the APCBC round, the 340mm OPF MLE 1921 APCBC, and that has the same yield of 24 kilograms. But the penetration doesn't really increase that much. 493 millimeters at 1000 meters, and at 10 kilometers 321 millimeters. That's roughly a difference of 70 millimeters. But it's the yield. So if you penetrate something, And I'm not talking about the magazine detonations, but let's say you just explode just over a really thin bulkhead, or in front of a really thin bulkhead and over a really thin deck, or you just get into the machinery, the enemy feels the pain. The problem is penetrating the armor to begin with. And you can have also this, because the armor is fishy. Well, getting shot by a Bayern, that's a rather unique experience to begin with. But also the 15-kilometer kill that I received from a Des Moines, the armor at times can withstand so much HE treatment or AP treatment. But then again, sometimes you just die to just random shots at range. And maybe the plunging fire is the weakness of the ship due to its relatively weak deck plating. The side armor, compared to its predecessor, is also not that much better. We're also talking about 250 millimeters of armor for the main belt, 230 millimeter for the upper belt, and where the secondaries are, it's all 160 millimeters. We have the upper deck of 30 millimeters, we have the middle deck of 48 millimeters, and then we have the deck above the turtleback of 40 millimeters, and the turtleback is way above the waterline. Or halfway above the waterline, 42 millimeters. The impact angle with 54 degrees, it's better than nothing, but it doesn't protect you like any other turtleback. The Baguetts, 236 millimeters, and the turret faces 300 millimeters. That is not good. Then you have also 14 secondaries of the 138.6 variety, the same as on the predecessor on the Paris, where there are 22. So you have less. And your 875mm heavy AA are still useless. What is interesting are the 14 40mm Bofors and the 25 20mm Oerlikons, all in single mounts, all distributed across the ship, mostly around the superstructure and on the super firing turrets. Now, this gives you a little bit of protection versus patrol boats, versus planes when they are coming really close, but you have no long-range AA cover that is effective. Beautiful shot. So, let's just summarize the ship. It's slow, 40 kilometers per hour. It doesn't have best armor. Then the armor is at times also really fishy. The secondaries and AA are okay-ish, but not really something outstanding. And the main battery just has not the right amount of guns, so 10 or 12 would be better. And it also lacks overall the DPM. It's not terrible in the sense that you have the 40-second reload from the US battleships, but you only have 8 guns, you still have some dispersion, you lack the penetration versus other battleships at range even, or when they're angled, and even at close range. But when you penetrate, you deal a lot of damage, and I'm not talking about the ammunition detonations. I'm just talking about the hits when you hit the cruiser or the battleship midships. Look at this. Right, that was just a third by hitting the machinery, right? And we went through the fuel protection tanks, right? So this ship deals a lot of damage, but it doesn't deal it enough or often enough. There are ships like the US Standards, let's talk about the USS Arizona, that has 12 guns, and which the AP nearly doubles the penetration at a distance of 10 kilometers, right? And while it has less yield, it does the job. So this is just where the ship feels awkward, because you don't need that yield to kill really cruisers. I mean, it's extra spicy, but it's not that effective. And to be honest, I would much prefer to be in an SMS von der Tann or a SMS Kaiser, you know, those German battleships or battle cruisers, because they just have that much faster reload, and I don't need the best performance of those shells when I fight cruisers. When I fight other battleships, I don't have the armor, I don't have the penetration, I don't have the DPM to really stand against them. And also this ship doesn't have any sort of catapult fighter or whatever to contest caps. You still have no coastal fleet to really contest the caps. Therefore, you really rely on matches like these. The ship is better than at the start when I played it. I gave it a second and even a third chance. I played it more than its predecessor, which I immediately liked much more, and I could also reason why. And yeah, that still counted. So this ship is just in an awkward spot. It just doesn't have really the right enemies. And that is a little bit of a shame. It's also missed chance. I still want the Dunkerque in the closed beta. And that's all that I can say. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, let me know if the sound of the video was loud enough, if it's still clear enough. And as usual, we will see each other on the battlefields, in the skies, and on the waves of War Thunder.